this creative controversy, creating controversy, what's happening in Hollywood right now, where the writers and now the actors have joined them in solidarity in something that we haven't seen since the 60s. And they're fighting the CEOs like Bob Iger, who's saying they don't have realistic expectations for what it is that they want. Adam Conover was on the picket line and a video went viral. We're going to play some of this sound for you while he's on the picket line, talking about the idea that a CEO making about $26 million a year, returning to 5 times the bonuses that he used to get while the writers strike over a lot of stuff that you're seeing that is super unfair. Here is his righteous rage on the picket line.
The CEO of Disney went on TV and said that what writers and actors are asking for is not realistic because they just don't have enough money to pay us. But he said this at a billionaire retreat where he was hanging out with Mark Zuckerberg and David Zaslav that they all flew to on their private jets. And you know what? I don't think that that's realistic. Here's a dose of reality for you, Bob. Writers cannot afford to pay their mortgages. Actors are not able to make a living in Los Angeles anymore. That is reality to us, not flying around on private jets. And until you accept that reality, we are going to be out here on the picket lines, withholding our labor, depriving you of your product, and you will not make another dollar off of us until you come back to the table and face reality and negotiate with us as you have refused to do. And until you do that, there will be no acting and no writing.
Adam, thank you for joining us now. You're smiling at yourself. What are you doing there? From rage to you're smiling at your rage. What's happening?
He's admiring the bars.
You know, I am admiring it. There's nothing that feels better than getting to be at someone like that for a justified purpose. You know, I love screaming at a CEO when I know that the public is going to be on my side. That's, you know, what I do as a comedian, and it's really fun to get to do it in my union work as well, to get to start.
What is it about everything that's happening right now that makes you angriest?
I mean, the fact that the CEOs have been able to get away with ignoring the concerns of the people who make their product for so long. You know, we as the writers have already been on strike for around 80 days. And for Bob Iger to get up there and say that what we're asking for is not realistic when he personally has refused to negotiate with us, right? This is a man who won't return our phone call, who delegates negotiations to a group of people who he just hires to say no for him, right? That's who we've been forced to talk to. We've been on the picket line trying to force the guy to talk to us, and he's refused to. Instead, he goes on CNBC from a billionaire retreat and talks about us in the press. It's ridiculous. But you know, here's the thing: we're all picketing with smiles on our faces, right? Because the guy is such an idiot. They're all idiots, and it's fun to be up against someone whose number you have so thoroughly. Like we are going to win. We know that already. It's just going to take a little time for them to realize it.
How do you know it already?
Because I'm trying to figure out how to explain this without getting too much into the labor history. But SAG-AFTRA going on strike is something that none of the CEOs anticipated. The Writers Guild is historically been the only militant union that goes on strike. And so they plan for us to go on strike. They plan to wait us out for the first 2 or 3 months. And we had a plan to, eventually get them to wake up, in the next month or so and force the issue. And we were going to get there. But SAG-AFTRA going on strike as well is something that literally none of them thought could happen. This is Trump getting elected for them, right? They are going to spend the next week themselves. They're doing a lot of big talk. Oh, we'll wait them out, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have a product without us. And so the only choice for them is to come to the table. It's just a matter of how long it takes for them to realize that. The only way a strike ends is if the workers give up. If they say, we can't handle this anymore. We have to pay rent. We have to go back to work. And that's just not going to happen in this case because writers and actors both know that if we do that, we won't have jobs to go back to in 5 years.
When you say we're going to win, what is winning?
Winning is, so look, we have a lot of proposals, right? And it's a win if you can get most of the ones that they don't want to give you. You don't expect to win everything, but you expect to win a lot of the things they don't want to give you. For instance, for writers, we need to preserve the writer's room. They're trying to eliminate the writer's room. The existence of the writer's room is not in our contract. We're trying to codify it into our contract. We're trying to codify protections for screenwriters. We're trying to protect them from free work. We're trying to make sure that that late night writers who do the kind of comedy writing I do have the same protections in streaming that they do in broadcast and cable. And if we get all those things, that's a win. But our stretch goal, right, the thing that we really want that is starting to look like it's becoming possible is success-based residuals. Is a residual where the more people watch a show, the more money we receive. And us being on strike with SAG-AFTRA at the same time makes those sort of like really big picture things look like a possibility. And the reason for that is that the last time these two unions went on strike together, as you alluded to, Dan, was 1960. And what we won in 1960 was our health and pension plan, the existence of the health and pension plan, and the existence of residuals at all. Residuals were invented in 1960. So now that we're both on strike again, we have the opportunity to fundamentally restructure how compensation works in Hollywood again for the coming, next 50 years. And I have every confidence we're going to do that. I mean, it's a brand new landscape and everything is still falling into place, but that's my optimism. That's what it looks like to me.
Did you were you surprised by the actors coming in that strongly behind you?
I mean, if you asked me a month ago, I would have tempered your expectations and said, you know what, we stand with them. I hope they get a really good deal. But as we got closer and closer, you started to hear this drumbeat. You started to see the things that they were saying in the press. You started to see that every time that the SAG-AFTRA leaders made a statement about how well things were going and they felt they were going to get a deal, their membership would respond by saying, like, no, we want to go on strike. Not that we want to go on strike, but we want to go on strike if there isn't a good deal, right? Their membership started rising up more and more as the days went on. As we were striking as writers, we started to see more and more actors join our picket line before a strike was even called. So, and then we started seeing the two sniping at each other in the press, SAG-AFTRA and the companies. So it started to feel more like a drumbeat, like we were going in that direction. And I became pretty certain within the last 4 or 5 days.
What do you think AI is going to be? Like I would not, all of this is something that would have been Mandarin to me, trying to understand it 5 years ago. The idea that all of creativity can be replaced by computers.
Well, I don't think it's the case that all of creativity can be replaced by computers. I think that, let's be clear, the term AI is a marketing term that the tech billionaires came up with in order to make the technology sound like it can do more than it can, right? They have a couple of new technologies which can do some interesting things. They have large language models which can output text that resembles text that other humans have written in the past, right? And they have new ways to make people's, make a computer generated image look like someone's likeness, right? It's essentially just better CGI. And those technologies pose different threats to actors and writers. As far as writers are concerned, large language models cannot do the work of writers because I want to be really clear about this. Writing is a lot more than outputting text. All right. I think that a lot of you folks probably know this. It's not simply just like, oh, we strung a bunch of words together. Writing is talking to other humans and finding out new information about the world, having an idea about how that could be a script, right? Outputting some text, sure, then going and talking to the director, talking to the actors, talking to the studio, making the changes that they require, going to set, like all those things. That's the work of a writer. But our employers are dumb and ignorant enough about what we do to think that they can replace us with just this thing that outputs text because they don't really know what writing is. They think it's just outputting words. And so I think it's likely that in the next couple of years, some, tech huckster comes to the studios and says, guess what? We have a super AI. You input all your scripts. We'll output you new scripts. You can fire all your writers. And it's not going to work because they're wrong about what the work of writing is. They're still going to need us. But if they follow through on that dumb plan, they could hurt a lot of writers in the process. And so we have contract provisions in our contract to prevent, in our proposals that we're trying to get put into our contract that would prevent them from hurting writers with a cockamamie scheme like that. Actors are under a much greater threat. There's already been cases where SAG-AFTRA voice actors have found their voices used by Apple Audio, like so-called AI audiobook narration, without their consent or compensation. There was a big Wired story on it a couple months ago, and that was the canary in the coal mine. Actors are very much at risk of having their likenesses stolen by the companies and reused without their consent and compensation. And that's what SAG-AFTRA is fighting for, and really support them for doing so.
What can you tell me are the details? Because there have been a lot of them, right? Orange is the New Black. An actress says she made $27. And there have been a lot of details that the general public did not know. What would you point to as the most appalling of the details you've come upon, even though you know the industry, where you're like, you got to be kidding me? That is a level of unfair that's preposterous.
I mean, there are so many, Dan. So one thing that we know is that, first of all, the companies are trying to eliminate the writer's room. What they're starting to do is pay showrunners a bribe to not hire writing staffs at all. They're like, you could write the whole show yourself, like Mike White or like Taylor Sheridan. And we'll pay you an extra little bonus. If we allow them to do that 5 years from now, there's not going to be a bonus. They're just going to be requiring one person to write a whole season of television all by themselves, which is what they force people to do in Korea. If you've seen, the horrible working conditions that come out of Korea. And then their proposals are really, the other side's proposals are really shocking. One of them for writers is that for writers like me, for late night writers, they want to put us on a day rate where instead of being hired in 13-week increments, 3 months increments, which is already pretty short, they want to be able to hire us and fire us by the day, which would turn this from a career into gig work, right? It would start to become a job you could do on a day off of your day job. And we can't allow them to do that. And then for actors, one of the most egregious proposals is that the other side proposed that they pay background actors, extras, the people who fill out a scene. These are professionals who do this work. They're SAG-AFTRA members who do background work. They propose that every time one of these people come to set, they be fully scanned into an AI. They receive 1 day pay, and then their likeness can be used in perpetuity by the company. Like literally long after this actor is dead, you'll see them walking around in the background of scenes, and they won't receive any money. Their kids won't receive any money. This is what these people are proposing to us as things that we should accept. And that would be reason enough to go on strike, but we also have a lot of issues we need to be taken care of as well.
Your hair is tremendous. You need to stop.
Thank you.
You need to stop fussing with it, and it's fine just the way it is. You don't have to fix anything. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for your work and your righteous cause, sir.
Thank you so much, man. If I can plug really quickly, if folks want to support the strike, go to entertainmentcommunityfund.org. Any money you donate there will go directly to workers who are affected in film and television. Entertainmentcommunityfund.org. They do wonderful work.
Thank you, sir. You do as well.
Thank you so much.